Hello, this video is to help you draw the three-dimensional version of the garage door handle. To begin, open your original garage door multi-view drawing, your orthographic drawing you finished for part A. Because you might have been working recently on part B, your drawing might be set to isometric, so right-click on your grid settings and go back to regular snap. In addition, let's take off layers we don't need to see at this time, which are going to be our dimensions, our center lines, our text, and our hidden lines. Zoom in on the front view. We're going to extrude this feature. Currently the feature is in different parts, so it cannot be extruded at this time. In order to extrude an object to become a solid, the entire path needs to be continuous. What's called a closed loop or region, R-E-G-I-O-N. There's different ways to get a region, but for a region to be successful, there needs to be no extra pieces of any parts that were not trimmed or any gaps in the drawing that will prevent a region from being formed. If you have any two-dimensional drafting problems, then the three-dimensional version of this will not be created. So keep that in mind. So let's begin. There's multiple ways to make a solid. One is called a region, R-E-G-I-O-N. The other is called boundary, B-O-U-N-D-A-R-Y. Okay, let's use boundary first. This window will pop up. You have different options, polylines or regions. I'm going to try the polyline method first. I'm going to pick points, the screen will disappear. You want to pick a spot in the side of the shape and it's going to detect an exterior surface. You'll know if it finds one when you hit enter, and if you select your object it becomes 1. Another way to find out if the boundary works is to make a new layer for 3D purposes, a different color, and make that layer current, so when you do use the boundary command, it'll adopt the characteristics of the layer which is current, as you see there. Now it's green. The other command to make a three-dimensional object is called region, R-E-G-I-O-N. I hit the undo button so that I could show you this command. In this case, you have to select all the objects that you want to form a region. After you select the objects, hit enter. Down on the command line, it will tell you whether it worked or not. In this case, it says 1 loop was extracted, 1 region created. The layer that was current adopts that characteristics, and again, that's why it's green. Now that we have a three-dimensional object, we could also take off the object line layer. I have 2 layers because of something I was doing earlier, but basically just turn off your object layer. Now we're going to switch to southwest isometric, and we can see our object is lying flat because we have to always extrude in the Z direction. But before we can extrude, and since we're going to be working in 3D, we're going to leave drafting annotation and go to 3D basics interface. So click on the gear settings icon, click on 3D basics. Wait just a little bit. Extrudes up here. Select your new region, hit enter, and point up and type in the depth of the part, which if you can recall is 1.5. And there's the feature of the object there at 1.5 thick. It's nice to see this as a conceptual object, so you can see it there. Now we need to draw circles and extrude them on these 2 surfaces to create the holes. To do that, we first need to locate the center of the holes, and it's best to probably work from a different direction, not the top, not the right. Looks like the front will work, and we're going to work on this surface. There's X, Y, Z, so everything looks okay. So I'm going to switch layers so that I can see what I'm doing. I'm also going to take off the color by going back to 2D wireframe. Object layer, Guess I'll turn on current later on. Okay, so line, snap to midpoint. There's no midpoint to snap onto. Let's see why. Because nothing's on. So let's activate those. Endpoint, midpoint, center, quadrant, perpendicular, and intersection. Those 6 I typically use. Alright, so line, snap to midpoint. The distance to the center of this part was 5/8. The diameter of that circle, I know the diameter, so I hit the down arrow and pick diameter and type in 7/16. Okay, so I want to extrude this feature, and of course I'll copy one to the other side. It's best to not do this in a two-dimensional view. It's best to use one of the Southwest isometric or any of the isometric drawings to see how we're doing. Okay, so let's extrude this feature. And the nice thing about it is we don't care how long it is, because we're going to subtract it out anyway. We also want to make sure it's in the part, not above it. Can't really tell at the moment. But if I orbit this, whoops, I have only that object selected, so deselect everything. Yeah, I can see it's going through the part. Okay, using the orbit command. I want to copy one to the other side. I cannot copy in this orientation. Go back to the front view. I said copy, I meant to say mirror. I want to mirror that, so I'm going to use the mirror command. The standard mirror command is right there. So I'll pick mirror. I'll pick this object, enter. My midpoint of the object would be the easiest place to mirror. I don't want to erase the source object. Now I have the other one right over there. So let's go back to Southwest isometric, and we can see our shapes. To make the holes, we're going to subtract the cylinders out of the door handle. To do that, use a subtract command, and the picture there shows you that you pick the one feature you want to keep first, and then the second part you pick is what you don't want to keep. So this is the method. Pick subtract, pick the large object only, and hit enter. Now pick the objects you want to subtract out, which are going to be here and here, and then hit enter. You can sort of see the holes, but we really can't tell unless we go to conceptual to see them. Again, are they really holes? We could verify by zooming in, and I can see that they are. I'll delete this two-dimensional object before I use orbit to check my work. You can use your mouse, your wheel mouse, the center mouse of your, the wheel of your mouse if you have one, or you could pick these icons here to pan, to zoom, and of course, what I'm doing now, orbiting. Alright, let's go back to our original view, which is the top view. Let's turn on our remaining layers just so you can see what we've been up to. And you can see that the object is laying flat. So let's take off some things. Alright, so here's just our object all by itself. Let me show you how to use a new command. It's called the rotate gizmo. There's a command called 3D rotate which gives you the same thing. What you do is you select the object and hit enter, and this feature will pop up. The way it works is, with ortho on, you're going to be rotating every 90 degrees. So right now ortho is on. So what I would do, let's say I want to rotate it looks like the red axis here. I'll pick the red axis, and then using my cursor I would move and rotate until I find the angle that I want. In this case it's going to be that orientation. So without snapping onto any lines on my feature, I'll click. Now the object has been rotated up. So I go to paper space, you can see that. Alright, here's the same process of the rotate gizmo. It pops onto your object, and you can rotate to different orientations. Alright, hit the escape key, go to paper space. Double click inside the viewport, which you already have already. I want to show you how to print these. First, I'm going to do a zoom extents and a zoom 1xp, get it the right size. It still doesn't look centered to me, so I'm going to move that around. I can see I left the hidden line layer on or some other feature there I need to get rid of. So let's find out what layer that's on. It's on the hidden line layer. Let me turn off the hidden line layer. Okay. So to print in black and white as a hidden object, you need to select here the word hidden, like this. The new version of AutoCAD has given me issues with printing colored full objects in black and white. Also need to turn the text layer back on because I realized that my content of my title block was on the text layer. And the other features that popped up were information I was using when I was drawing different objects for the isometric drawings. I can get rid of that. But as for these, I will highly consider just moving these to the dimension layer. Now, the gizmo is active at this time, which is why you keep seeing it pop up. In 3D, that typically happens. The move gizmo is the most common one we see, as you see right there, that icon. So if you want to take off the gizmo, you can right there by clicking on no gizmo. Okay, lots of new features, like I said. Here we are in Paperspace. When we print, it's supposed to be in black and white if monochrome is activated. Let's see if it's working. See, it's not. It comes out in color. So what I have to tell my students is to change the color of this to white. Alright, save it of course.